Genji and Greymane are kind of his go-to heroes. Would like to see a change for LFM in that round.
Yeah, I feel like for me, when I look at teams that I want to kind of see that get changed, and when we go to Dragonshire, I feel like a lot of it's the offlane. For me, it comes to the value of like where that priority on that offlaner comes in and what you're looking to do make happen with it. Again, we talked about it when the first Battlegrounds kind of came in, but LFM in the past was more prone to banning out Dragonshire, so even more of kind of a maybe strength here for Gale Force on this map. But it's, yeah, I think it's...
No Samuro?
Definitely no Samuro. I mean, it's possible, but it very much would hinder, you know, again, that kind of argument towards the priority, towards the top lane. I just feel like there's a lot of mid-game that is kind of a bit of miss with the pressure being put on this map, and it's oftentimes because right now in NA we look a lot at that bottom lane. And yes, that bottom lane is where all the action ends up happening, but it's only through the prep of the top lane is it possible.
Well, I think one thing, and I fully agree with you on the off lane, and we've seen the Blaze kind of have priority. We see a Garrosh first pick here, but I wouldn't mind also seeing maybe a Sonya. That's actually worked out very well for Swab so far. He's won about half of his games so far in the 6 games they've played it. It allows them to kind of be aggressive, dive under that. If they're going to play the Tyro, which has been their most played warrior on that front line, you kind of have that dive buddy there that you can kind of go and help survive. Sonya does well to survive on her own, but a little extra help wouldn't hurt there from a Tyro.
With the Garrosh picked up, you feel like the Tyrael maybe, you know, higher incentive here for Gale Force Esports. Yeah, but that's not true. Fury plays Tyrael. I was like, wait a minute, Fury doesn't that matter? I was like, that's not actually true at all. Fury is actually one of the more impressive Tyraels that we have here in NA. If we don't see that, something like more of the Johanna possible here, I don't think Gale Force has to pick that this high in this rotation. Very much, you know, I would expect from them the standard of moving into one of the supports. Granted, Akaface has had, I want to say, second lowest traditional support value out of all of North America. That being said, we haven't gotten to see them play this week. Paradigm might have shifted a bit. Going with the Junkrat Dahaka. I really like the high value in the Junkrat. I'm a little torn on the Dahaka. When I say a little torn, I actually disagree. I'm a lot of torn. Feel like that's really, I don't want to say too high. I'm going to say too high. I think that's too high value, honestly.
It's weird because Swabs on LFM made his name on Dahaka, making some of the biggest plays, but over the last several weeks, hasn't prioritized it. So it's not like you're taking it away from Swabs. It is just a high prioritization for Gale Force. So that is interesting. You know, one thing, though, that we've seen over the last week or so is Michael Udall's Junkrat play. It's quietly been really, really good. He's not dying. He's getting max value out of his concussion mines, making sure to keep his team alive. He's been a key element in a lot of team fights, most notably that Towers of Doom that we had last week, which was pretty epic. And that was a huge back and forth, and somehow comes out of that unscathed with 0 deaths that game. So good control there from the Junkrat, Michael Udall.
It's a really good point that you bring up. Forgot about that. You know, we did have some stellar play from Mike and higher priority from them. LFM commit to the Stukov Hanzo. A lot of control here within the 4-man that they have themselves. Nothing within that side lane itself. We already know the Dahaka here. I'm going to assume that if Gale Force is willing to Dahaka within the 1-2, they have a ban that they want to rid of, or they personally feel like Dahaka is objectively power enough that he doesn't have enough trade or any kind of matchups that is too fearful for them.
I just wonder, we saw a high Li-Ming last game, Dread. I think it might have been maybe to hide the Samuro, but it still felt high. Again, Tychus, Li-Ming have been the priority heroes for T by far. Hanzo is a dreaded hero, unless they've been practicing switching something up. So in consideration of that, you have to think, do we get Tychus? Do we get Li-Ming to kind of pair along that? If not, where do you go? Cassia is that third hero. What change up can LFM make to pair with that Hanzo to where it feels impactful?
I've got a cooler question here now with this ban coming out from Gale Force Esports. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong about this. I was going to say, why ban the Blaze over the, you know, Malthael, but I forgot that we got the Garrosh on the other side. And I was like, is this, what are you trying to rid of with the taking away of the bunker? What offensive, you know, hero is about to get picked up that you do not want to get denied? Maiev is already, you know, off the table, but I had a little backwards there. What do we see from LFM now? They know that they got the off lane. They have control over the 4-man. I'd be banning, I think, a Johanna. I'd just take it away. You already got the Junkrat pickup. You do not want somebody who can deal with the Garrosh and hold its own. I'd rather go, you know what, I'll take Fury on Tyrael and just take the high risk, because Johanna is so much easier and more forgiving than the Tyrael play. I never thought I'd be promoting a Johanna second man.
I mean, I sometimes, you know, we'll go down that route with you. I don't know. I mean, I get where you're
or
going.
Mouth?
I would rather ban the Tyrael and deal with the Johanna.
Well, the only reason I disagree is I don't want to deal with somebody setting up Junkrat to be even bigger of a problem.
True.
Right?
True,
It's
true.
not only is he
okay.
safe into the garage, it's literally because you've already picked Junkrat. So I'm like, all right, you already have the synergies. I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to make Tyrael, and you know, you're just going to be holding your own while Junkrat's throwing out nades. And then that's not that synergistic when it comes to team fight. Whereas the Johanna, I look at it and go, we've seen this gain value. I don't want to deal with that. Either way, they ban the Malfurion, so who cares? Because they have both options.
Well, the option is going to be available. We've seen a lot more Rhaegar play from Akaface, and it's not just kind of out of nowhere. Rhaegar's been on the rise globally, and his win rate's going up. He's sitting somewhere around 50% right now, but most notably, Akaface's play on Rhaegar has actually been more standout than most.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something, it's a little bit old school, but it's had a tremendous amount of value for Gale Force. You know, Stukov gone, Malfurion there. If they want to get, you know, a little bit of a change-up, we could get Genji Uther.
If we get Genji, I was like, we have to get a Rhaegar, or at least an Ancestral or burst healing. You know, like you said that with the Uther. They don't commit to either front line. When you pick the Genji, though, Genji with the Johanna seems a little bit awkward. Tassadar pick up here for LFM.
I didn't see that one coming.
What other slow... Oh, no, you got to go with the off lane now, but the Blaze is already going to be banned out. You can't commit to the Malthael with a Tassadar on your team, so then what do you do, Sonya? You got a Sonya. Put Swabs on the Sonya, let him bust out the Wrath, put some hurt on the Poise. There we go. Does well in the Genji, too.
I was saying one good spear on the Genji, and he's probably like, hey, guys, I'm going to dip on out of here.
I mean, we don't talk about this too often, but I mean, it's not like Junkrat isn't vulnerable to the Sonya. Yes, the Concussion Mine responds afterwards, but Ancient Spear with Wrath popped in one hit onto a target post 7 or post 10. That's a lot of damage. Junkrat, you know, he's not the tankiest of the Overwatch group.
So we still need that tank. Tyrael, Johanna come to mind. See if Fury has any other options. ETC obviously available, but against this composition, against the Stukov, and against the Hanzo, ETC doesn't have that much value. I think Johanna, ooh.
I was going to say, because they picked Murden, Johanna is less incentivized, but Tyrael then becomes higher value. But Tyrael doesn't work well with the Junkrat. You still want to lock down and hard crowd control. Murden is that hybrid. I'll be honest, I don't feel like his, you know, some of his weaknesses with survivability specifically is going to be making up for this pick, but it's not a Murden that you look at and you go, why is this? I very much think that that is the thought process behind the two, that it works the best with the Junkrat and Genji within the 4-man and laning phase. They aren't too worried about the map control because they have enough Junkrat to be able to deal with that. That in mind, I don't think it's going to be enough to dominate the wave clear of LFM. I'm just going to rely on what I expect to be here, the dominance of Gale Force Esports, to be able to eke ahead in this game.
I mean, Murden's kind of been in and out of the meta at various points. Right now, he sees a lot of play, but to little success. This is actually also the first time, I believe, this year that we're seeing Fury on that. At times, obviously, Fury is our most seasoned warrior. I don't know if there's really anybody that's played more warrior games than Fury at this point.
There aren't.
So it's like, it's just like riding a bike, you know, like give me a second, I'll get started. I'm sure he's going to be just fine here, but the Murden pick over the other, we'll see how it plays out.
The reason I'm pretty confident that that is a true statement in terms of like formal, you know, competitive, how many warrior games you have, is a lot of people don't know this. I used to play warrior when I first started playing professionally, and I, in fact, used to go head-to-head with Fury on the front lines quite a bit here. And that was so long ago, nobody even knows about that. And let's be real here, I'm all washed up, all old school commentary style now, so the fact that, you know,
and you were a Stitches main, right?
I was originally, but that was when he had the slam and he was bustoed. Let's be real here. Everybody was a Stitches main back then. It was like Abathur was split push. You know, you just couldn't say no to it. It's full scatter build coming out from Hanzo here for Draded out of LFM.
They spent a little bit of time thinking about it, and obviously we've kind of seen a little bit of change up at times when you have the Tassadar. Maybe go into that Redemption build up off that, make sure you get extra heals there. Figgy getting the toss up, obviously going into that Groundbreaker. This is where Murden kind of struggles at times.
It is a moment where it struggles, but also I would say in that type of situation, LFM gave a lot of resources, specifically Aware and Figgy, literally did not commit to that mid wave, just in hopes that somebody would walk into that triangle. So it was also kind of the master plan that hopefully somebody would walk into that, and Murden was the sad little dwarf there. Luckily, you know, he is tough enough that he can't deal with that. I watch his trailer all the time. He reminds me.
It's such an old trailer.
It's my favorite.
It's like sometimes you forget it actually exists.
It is hands down the best trailer out of any Hero Spotlight trailer, whatever we call it, here for competitive or for Heroes of the Storm that we have.
Right after the Butcher one. I got you. Either way, we've got B-Kid up here going into the extra essence, so a little bit of North America special, making sure that you get that talent or that quest completed, going from 50 essence to a maximum of 60 once you do complete that. We have seen, you know, kind of a varied change-up. You know, we look at Glaurung, he goes into that, then he goes the extra auto attack damage at 13 based on how much essence you have, but we've seen some change-up, getting that vulnerability on your Dark Swarm at 13, maybe even a change-up at various points. So we'll see down the road how effective that will be, or else it's just there for a little bit of extra healing when you need it.
The one qualm I have with that a majority of the time is the trade-off versus the mobility whenever you go into the isolation. It just goes, it makes you...
It's a lot easier to land.
Yeah, it not only is it easier to land, but the threat of the brush stock and the kind of impact that that has on a play without having a mobility outside of the shrub immediately to kind of come out and make those kind of plays, it just goes, the play style is a lot more straightforward, and that's always my kind of qualm with this, and it's always surprising how that can hinge on just like a level 1 talent, but we'll see how that unfolds here. It has been, you know, pretty dominant here in North America, especially, as you said, within Glaurung's play out of Tempo Storm.
Biggie and Swift Strike landing. So far today, T's like, well, man, this really hurt. I'm going to go ahead and shield myself and see if I can heal up a bit, because chunked out. Tassadar now officially, after, you know, some of the rounds and nerfs, is officially made of paper. So Swift Strike through there just cuts right through him.
Gale Esports is struggling quite heavily within the laning situation here. The 1v1 between B-Kid and Swabs is pretty much a near even trade between the two, but the Hanzo, Stukov, Tacit, or Garrosh, the kill potential mixed with the, I mean, very comfortable wave clear and so much pressure being put onto Mike Udall within the wave control that right now LFM is actually dictating a lot of control over the lanes, which is not something Gale Esports really, you know, kind of wants. And typically when we think of Gale Force in their like actual prime, when they're in their best, it's when they're on small maps controlling lanes. So this is great for LFM.
Yeah, so far, we see the bottom lane had a high priority for LFM, taking out one tower so far. Draded getting a tremendous amount of value. Junkrat hasn't really strayed too far from this mid lane yet, Dreadnought, and they've really been trying to flex Biggie between that mid and top, seeing if they can get a kill. Sonya now on that point. Dahaka is going to go up there, but looks like we're going to have a double back here from Biggie.
So what we see from Gale Force with the commitment of the Muradin, notice how you were talking about Junkrat, right? He's the one in the middle lane the entire time. This is 100% expected. Nice job there from Fury getting the Dwarf toss in, and even have the concussion mine from Mike Udall to knock him out, but now he has nothing to escape there. So what was a good trade, it comes out to be great punishment from LFM. End up getting a 2-for-1 into their favor, and suddenly now they can regain control over this laning situation. What I was going to say is Gale Force is not utilizing that. Junkrat should be that middle soaker and then helping the Rhaegar on bottom. Muradin Genji should be the double gank squad towards that Sonya on top, but it's just Genji on his own, and it's not getting any macro pressure. And then Muradin is helping the bottom lane, which isn't helping the macro problem within the 4-man. So Gale Force's laning adjustments with the high-risk pick into the Muradin, they aren't adapting correctly, and LFM is punishing greatly. Talking about some punishment, though, big impact, always here to get that punishment.
He's just like, look, guys, they're diving behind us. Like, I'm going to need some help here. And the Dragonite is cool and all, but, you know, the minute you see Draded there all by himself, he's not going very far. Biggie getting the boot over the wall there. As the DK continues to press forward, you mentioned the control of the lanes, and so far that's amounting to a decent amount of experiences. We're looking at almost a full level lead. Michael Udall getting away from the clutches of Figgy as Figgy is just throwing minions at him. I'll get you. Ooh, Swabs, though.
Not able to make it out from that drag. Nice lurking arm from Aware. He's going to go ahead and whirlwind. Figgy now needs to find a way out. A lot of armor available for now. Indomitable use. Hits the 2-man groundbreaker. Swabs now goes back on to Genji. First kill there going over to actually LFM. Was that a scattering arrow onto B-Kid? Either way, they end up getting the next Stormbow, locking down Genji. LFM gains 2 more kills. A full level and a half advantage over Gale Force or Esports pre-10, and they just picked up their heroics.
It's getting out of control a little bit. I mean, Gale Force, however, is really adept at team fighting. I think it's kind of their biggest asset is a team. You know, since they've come back from the Clash, they're actually averaging 11.2 kills a game. And that's through 3 series so far. We had 12 last game. So they're always going to have a fighter's chance when we get into these. But if LFM keeps this pace up, there's not going to be that many opportunities for Gale Force.
Yeah, it really feels like, you know, I want to see what happens once we get a couple forts down, both heroics available in that first actual skirmish, but that goes in favor of LFM. You suddenly go like, okay, well, Gale Force Esports, I guess we're going to game number 3 here, because this is getting kind of irrecoverable again, kind of how it unfolds on Dragonshire. Night Camp is going to be picked up for LFM towards top. They'll have that pressured as they already keep the 4-man guiding these bottom giants towards this key front wall. Like to see a bit more commitment with the 10 window to that bottom key wall for LFM. Unless they're going to back out and double camp and get the pressure on bottom while they have the pressure on top, and then I'm expecting that we're going to get the Dragon Knight phase in about 15 seconds. If that happens, then they'll be in a good position, but it feels like it's slightly too early of timing around that. Because whenever you get the identifier of the Dragon Knight coming up, you have 30 seconds, right? Which that means you need to be getting the camps themselves, like right now. Which I guess it did line up pretty close. So LFM, real good setup here. Just other than Night Camp on top is a little bit early, they have everything prepped for this next Dragon Knight phase to gain a huge advantage over GFE.
Here we go. We'll see if they can make something happen. 12 to 10, 10.5. If Gale Force is afraid of that 13 window, they're going to have to act quickly. They do have the global advantage, but you can actually see Garrosh, Sonya, and Hanzo all rotating to the top. B-Kid going to have to be on his toes to make sure not to step out too far. If he gets anywhere out, Dread, that's one dead Dahaka, but Figgy is now shown.
Yeah, Figgy showing on the top half of the map really gives Gale Force a lot of information, so much so that you can see Murden has dove past the Night Camp, past the Giant Camp, past the Mini Wave, and says, yeah, we'll go ahead and pick this one up. Again, I feel like Figgy could have been a little bit more patient with that. And also I found it pretty interesting that LFM ended up deciding to commit to the top lane, but not overly committing instantly, but then ended up kind of having that slow split response. Big impact with another great switch strike. Riptire comes out from Mike Udall.
Yeah, it seems like they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves. They get a little bit of trickery going. Even on that Sonya kill where they ended up losing. Oh, hold on. Fury's being flipped over. B-Kid, he's going to miss the tongue. There's the taunt onto Murd, and he's alive as the cleanse comes in. Ancestral's going to land onto B-Kid. There's the massive shove onto Biggie, who's forced to retreat.
Yeah, he's got to get the kite over the wall. Now Akafe trying to make his way out here. Spear is available for Swabs. Not going to land here onto anybody as Gale Force ends up making it back out. Genji already picking up the top shrine. LFM picking up bottom for themselves. They have the 13 talents here now. Ideally for LFM, if they choose a fight, they want it on bottom. So that means that they need to find a way to get the Night Camp pressure, which is going to spawn before the double camp pressure on the bottom half. When that happens and they gain that, they need to find a way to force the fight either on the bottom half or with that camp through the top half. But it's very important that they at least utilize that, because right now we sat at what looks like irrecoverable moment, but Gale Force is getting the dance of, Dragonshire that they shouldn't get. And this is oftentimes when I talk about Temple Storm's ability to apply pressure in the mid-game on Dragonshire and the setup that they give, this Dragon Knight should have been near instant for LFM the second that it spawns and how that map is prepped. But without being able to do so, then you get this, look it, we can just kite around all the time unless you have the global advantage, which we know GFE very much has on their side.
Just waiting for GFE to finally have that big team fight. Every time they get into a fight, just like what I was talking about before was, we saw Skullcracker. Skullcracker got a little bit of the interrupt on the Whirlwind from Sonya in their earlier skirmish, and then we had a few other things happen, and it just quite hasn't worked out. Udall going to get rooted there. Big time play by the Aware. T trying to confirm the kill, but now Fury and Biggie here to try and disrupt what's going on. Looks like Figgy and team, they're going to come in to try and disrupt it as well.
Oh, my goodness.
This could be a channel.
Yeah, it's going to be a channel attempt. Big Impact has to all in if he goes for this interrupt. Not going to do so. Dragon Knight here over to LFM Esports. They end up getting it. But I want to raise the point of, everything I was talking about before and the pacing in which they end up getting it. Gale Force normally would not be at 13. Look at this flank.
Here it comes in. Fury's coming in. You could see the calculated approach there. The Aware misses the massive shove there. Figgy, he's trying to save his team. That's going to be a 2-0 so far in favor. They're looking for more. Swabs is going to go down. And just like that, this is now twice Gale Force has dove right behind that Dragon Knight train.
Yeah, they just move past the objective, end up getting the kill. And that's one of the, biggest downsides to early Dragon Knights is it's actually a really poor team fighting tool. So much so that in most of these cases, you really, especially in the early game, have to consider who you end up putting in the Dragon Knight, or it really dictates how you play with it. LFM not really respecting the kind of positioning of Gale Force Esports over both of those times. Notice how nobody's anchoring in the process too, which I would argue a lot of that is, up to Figgy to make that happen, or at least somebody on the team to have that level of communication. But because T is the Tassadar, which provides a lot of the scouting, is always getting into that Dragon Knight, Gale Force goes, okay, we can dive past. We know you can't team fight this. Get the one shot. But by no means is, LFM out of this. They're still winning structurally. They're still even in experience. It's just that when it comes to, everything coming to fruition, it just seems to kind of be a bumpy road, so far.
Going to have to get over the Genji Murd and dive onto that backline. Again, communication seems to be more on point than it's ever been at this year for Gale Force as we see these options. Fury, he's got to make sure he doesn't get caught out. That's only Figgy and Aware. You can still get the root after the follow-up, but they don't have any damage here following up, so it's more just a scout. So Fury's going to be more than okay, and as you point out, oftentimes the minute this dings on the minimap, it shows Gale Force, all right, you know, there's not that heavy rotation. We know where they're at. They know where we're at. So the rotation's much, much safer, and with both teams approaching 16, that experience bar being almost even, this is exactly where Gale Force could hope to be at this point of the game.
But Gale Force is going to brush talk in if this fight gets too extended on the bottom half of the map. See, this is one of the benefits of having the Dahak at the later stages of the game. They've gotten past maybe the leaning kind of awkward moment. Hold up, though. Fury going to get taunted. He popped the Avatar beforehand. Lurking Arm already dropped down. Riptire going to send to the backline, splitting all the members of LFM. And now Figgy, excuse me, cannot make it out. Big Impact goes with the Switch Strike. Doesn't land that one, which is surprising. Out of all
he's hit.
Out of all the Swift Strikes you've hit, Figgy, that was the one that ends up missing.
The one that's literally standing still.
He's like just in front of you. Would you like it? And he's like, nah, dude. Cool guys don't take free resets.
I'm just going to go over here and wave at the other guys. Hey, your teammate over here is dying. I just wanted to say hello. All right, see you.
And Big Impact, though we lightly give banter here about missing that one. Things are still great here for Gale Force Esports.
We'll see if Michael Udall can maybe get a concussion mine or something. They're too far. Okay, they got out of range there. But that Night Camp still bottom. We'll see if Michael Udall can force this action. Sonya's really far forward. Daka should be able to help clear that, but under that camp umbrella of the spell armor, tough here.
But notice how the camps are being met at the exact same time. The rotational advantage is heavily in favor of Gale Force Esports so far, and they have a man advantage in the lane that they need to be winning. So everything from beginning to end is going great here for Gale Force. Two-man Stormbolt landing from Fury on that flank, throws down the nice W. Big Impact coming in with that Dragon Blade, gets the Ancestral Healing. Good job there from Akaface to keep him up. Draded, isolated. Will they get the kill? Genji, you know he wants that reset. He's trying to creep forward, but he will not get it.
That into the fray by Figgy to get Draded out of danger, and also Draded in the middle of that was able to land that big-time Dragon Arrow, which unfortunately Piggy was using his Dragon Blade into.
Mad respect there to T on that 1v1 against Junkrat. He actually bodied him. And that, granted, that's not necessarily the hardest with the shielding mixed with the W and having the auto attacks. That really came out miss, but still a very big success here for LFM. Both shrines now controlled for Gale Force.
Fury sitting on that healing static, making sure to get in there, see if he's got another reset, or excuse me, another W to throw down.
Look at Biggie.
Thunderclap.
Look at Biggie. Oh my gosh. Look at T. He is casually 2v1ing.
I'm a Tassadar. I finished my Psystorm quest. I have Sonic Echo. I'm just going to control this area. Feel free to come in. The one thing you do have to be careful of if you are a Genji is using the deflect in that situation, because it's a very rapid attack. And if you're going against the Genji, Genji can use that. Fury in very deep. The spear, Avatar. A lot committed. Avatar's going to be committed. The healing static keeping him up, and just like that, he's already healed.
Yeah, he ends up keeping himself alive there. Isolation's going to be used there on to Hanzo. Drady trying to keep himself alive. The concussion mine was actually dodged down. Fury, Stormbolt on. Going to use the natural agility over the wall. Now Fury kind of stuck there over the wall. It's going to be Swabs. Actually gets blown over the concussion mine. Throws the Ancient Spear onto Mikey Dahl. But he is alive, kites back, uses that movement speed debuff out from the fort, and ends up surviving. Gale Force through chaos. Hold on.
Michael Udall and Akaface, like peanut butter and jelly, always together. Akaface coming in for the save there. Now we just kind of hit a reset on this. Sonya missing from action, that top shrine under control. So now we're actually seeing a few members. We're going to see Michael Udall rotate towards the middle. See if Gale Force can obtain control. There is a Siege Giant camp picked up here, but Gale Force can commit the resources if they want to try a 5v4. It looks like they're just going to kind of casually approach this.
I really want to see one of these teams, especially LFM, because they have such a big advantage for a majority of the time once they get the Sonya back. It's just setting up this next mini wave, especially with that night camp on the top half. Top four is almost down for them. If they time that proper, try and make up for this lack of global advantage.
Everything that Gale Force is doing has been much more aggressive, much more calculated than the early part of the game. I believe they've got 5 of the last kills here in this game, trading out very well for quite some time. Michael Udall, he's going to tap.
Another huge thing I want to point out with the Murden pickup that we've seen happen 3 times in this game that you highlighted in the last fight is the healing static value is hitting 3 to 4 people. They need to stop clumping on top of Garrosh whenever he hits that top. If it hits one person, that's fine. It's only a little bit of healing. for the Murden. But when you hit multiple targets, that is how he's going from Avatar at 5% HP, barely holding on back to 50, and he can reinitiate a fight.
Yeah, he even went the extra healing at level 16 as well, going into that stone form, which is an activatable heal.
It works with Avatar, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So pop your Avatar before you use stone form.
Heal. Yeah, it's your max health, so you always want to go with that.
Bottom camp started here for LFM. Sonya's actually in a really bad spot. Gonna get caught out even. So much so there with the offensive positioning there from Big Impact. Once again, catching it out. That was set up there by B-Kid, though, beforehand. Now 52 seconds without swabs, 20 advantage and global advantage. No Apex Predator locked in yet, though. This is a huge window. Gale Esports likely to consume a Dragonite and probably, at least open up this map for the first time. Stormbolt gonna land.
Fury keeps landing that. He went with the reset. There was a cleanse onto that massive shove, so Fury, instead of getting shoved all the way back, actually gets a timely cleanse there to make sure that he didn't get sent all the way back to his keep wall.
You almost got massive shoved away from your mic right there for a moment.
Almost lost it.
J-How almost just tripped and died, ladies and gentlemen.
It's almost like I lost my keys or something.
So notice, well, actually, okay, I was going to say, why is Big Impact holding off there? But it was so they could get the Giants. I was like, notice how they're not immediately picking this up. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not finding a reason that they're doing this. And I was trying to figure out if they're trading off who goes into it. But in fact, was just going to be the Giant camp, be able to back that up. Swabs will be back in time for LFM. Not a single, kind of, I guess top 4 didn't end up falling to that night camp, but not very many structures have actually fallen so far for LFM. So they have a lot of defense to hold off. See, notice how Figgy's trying to get this flank. The difference between GFE and LFM, I feel like, is exactly that, is everybody on the side of Gale Force Esports is checking that shrub, right? When we think of every Dragonite Siege so far, Gale Force has gotten that free initiation from behind every time. But Gale Force, they do not let that up. Even double trap in here.
Siege Giants and Minions starting to make their way here. You can see the Lurking Arm going down. Does finish off those Siege Giants. Dragonite is much stronger as we get to the later part of the game, but sitting at 30% health, it's going to fall pretty rapidly. Going to be hard to take down and keep at this point. It looks like we're headed for the late game, but there's Fury being tossed in.
Going to be tossed in. Hits a Stormbolt. Ends up using that Dwarf toss out. A lot of damage there onto Big Impact on the Dragonite. So much so that the fact that they're going to keep committing to this bottom keep rather than taking out the middle 4 is rather interesting. Ancient Spear is enough to kind of lock it down. If they move past this shrub, a brush talk initiation is going to happen. Tread lightly here, LFM.
Dahaka is intentionally showing in that top lane. The Aware making his way up. They are split. Now they're making their way over to the Siege Camp one more time. Let's see if we get that brush talk. No, it looks like you're going to give up the Siege Camp. Just let Dahaka push, but Tassadar is going to make his way over. Maybe pepper down B-Kid a little bit. No interrupt here. He better... He's got to be careful because we have plenty of lockdown. He
doesn't have mobility, right? He didn't take mobility at one.
Extra.
Oh my gosh. He's dead. Wait for the Lurking Arm route. Here we go. Weighted pustule. Weighted pustule. There it is. Root. Oh, baby. Aware.
They're going to get a keep for this. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, somewhere in chat he's typing #worth, but I mean, you got to be careful here. Biggie can't afford to die, but that's a keep. Oh, the big Dragon Arrow is going to land.
Worth. Look at this flank from Swabs. Swabs and, Aware are making the biggest flank in the world. Big Impact gets flipped over. Here comes Aware to save the day. Massive shove gets interrupted. Now Swabs looking to join in, locks in that Ancient Spear, gets the damage. Genji is out of here. LFM hold on here with this post-20 fight. And now they need to find a way to keep this momentum in the favor. They cannot let go. There's no mercenaries available for them to pick up. So where do we see them siege? If T can hold on to this Eternal Archon, it's very important.
There's
yes.
Minion wave.
Oh my goodness. He gets to keep it. And then now they can siege. If he loses that, their siege potential drops drastically.
He's got to hold on to it. And right now he's just kind of getting the casual auto attacks in. But Drayden.
Nobody's fronting for him.
Oh no.
Good night, my sweet Archon.
Not getting anything out of those 2 kills. I mean, they're obviously going to try and play some rotational control, but I mean, they're not even starting. Hanzo's just now, I believe, starting that top right camp, but Gale Force is just going to match that. And there's no other map control that they're obtaining. Sonya's going to be met by Fury here on Muradin, but Figgy's like, hey.
Wait, he might be going down.
He might have rewind. He might have rewind.
He's got the silence, though, and he's going to be rooted. Just don't collapse. Doesn't even matter. Swabs hits the damage with the seismic slam, but Drayden in the mid lane, natural agility. 1, 2, hip, skip, hop, and a jump. I was trying to say something along those lines. He makes it out.
Skip-it-a-boop-bop. Well, that's a big-time kill because now all of a sudden we're looking at a DK going over to Gale Force. And LFM, they didn't do much that bottom lane. But the DK at this point in the game is going to skippity-boobop down in that bot lane.
I just see Jay out now, like saying, "On the scat, man," and then just hitting with that line. Okay, well, you missed out on a lot of sweet Sandstorm memes back in the day. Dragon Knight is now picked up for LFM. Swab's getting caught out in the top half of the map, trying to take that 1v1 to make sure they can secure the Dragon Knight. You got to be asking yourself, is that one going to be worth?
Look at the icon on who we've got in the DK as well. That is your support in the DK, and sometimes you kind of got desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm not sure if this was a desperate time.
And now it's putting it into a position.
The DK is not going to do much of anything.
Yeah,
I mean, you should be able to get the tower, but
yeah, ideally, I'd like to see you just prep top. We have 30 seconds where you're just buying all the time in the world.
Dreadnought Gale Force faced a similar circumstance last week against Team 12. You see the Dahaka in the top lane pushing. This time he's got a Night Camp.
Gale Force.
He stayed there way too long. This time, I think they might have a little bit easier defense.
Yeah, they might make it back to the core this time. Big impact. Takes the Ancestral.
There's B-Kid.
Oh, is going to hit it. Contagion opportunity?
Goes the cleanse. The self-cleanse, but it did land in the middle of that, so he is blinded here. Now Biggie's starting to go off. 2 members down. Biggie, he's going to hop on over. He's going to get a reset. Be aware he's going to pop out of this. It's going to be an unfortunate fate.
Every single fight, skirmish, everything they like here on Dragonshire, won by Gale Force Esports forcing while LFM is in a Dragon Knight. From beginning to end, it felt like almost every single moment there, they end up getting it. LFM held on. They had a lot of control over a majority of the rotations, everything of the like here. With the strength, the synergy, and more importantly, the team fighting. Gale Force Esports still prevails. Game number 2 going to be going to them, and Gale Force here up now 2-0.
Yeah, this game, I mean, there was a lot of early game control on the side of LFM, and the fact that Gale Force was able to hold on, and it was that 13 window that we saw LFM have control, and we almost expected them. They got the picks there. We almost expected them maybe push down that bot lane with that Infinite Archon, which is an incredible sieging tool. Ended up dropping back. Again, got the DK, but every time that DK got picked up, Sonya sacrificed herself up at the top to get that top shrine. They ended up, I mean, they missed so much. No Sonya, your support's in the DK. That's tough.
I think the biggest moment of kind of, ooh, this is tough for LFM was the exact one you're kind of highlighting it, but it's for 1 or 2 reasons, right? I think my initial call was like, oh, keep the Infinite Archon, look for the siege over on bottom. But that is the hardest call out of all those calls to make, hands down, at least when it comes to execution, right? And it's going to be the probably highest risk, also, highest reward at the same time when it comes to that, because you'd be pushing the keep, and you're going to promise that into a Dragon Knight, which opens lethal immediately after. But that you got to win that 5 versus 5, and that's a little bit too risky. So the other option, you set up the Dragon Knight immediately. You've got a 40-second window. Nobody on the other side. It's a 5 versus 4. You know you can win that. You have Miniwave pushing all the way up to their bottom keep, so you know you've got that one for an instant cap. On the top half of the map, you had the immediate channel where I think they had Sonya right up there temporarily starting the prep, and then you get to pretty much choose who you want in the mid lane. It's not going to be immediate pickup of the Dragon Knight, but it's going to be within 20 to 30 seconds. You have a, oh man, this is our fight, where it's either 5 versus 4 or you get yourself a Dragon Knight. That is not a moment where you go, we lost a 2 versus 1 with the Sonya on top, and Stukov ended up being the only one in the Dragon Knight while the fight happens afterwards. Like, that is the kind of stuff we look at in LFM. We go, this cleans up. This team has a lot of potential, because they did win, again, a majority of that game. According to all the parameters we know of Dragonshire, actually, they win that game. They won the lanes and proper. They won a majority of the Dragon Knights. They just didn't anchor when they got in the Dragon Knight, and they didn't get it quick enough.
It's going to be a learning experience nonetheless, but Gale Force going up 2-0 here. I mean, they fought back. I said early game they only had 2 kills, and once they got past level 10, they opened it up. They ended up with 14 there, so we're talking 26 kills through 2 games. I said since they've come back from the break, they're averaging over 11 kills per game, putting them at or near the top here in the world and climbing in the overall ranks for the entire season. So Gale Force, it seems like they always have that fighter's chance because they know how to throw down. And again, Biggie on that Genji, but a lot of it, you talk about this was a team, more of a team-oriented. There was no kind of that Abathur Genji with a little bit of extra flair. This was a full team effort to come back in this game, so Gale Force still holding strong.
Yeah, Gale Force is really able to hold up here, but we're going to, we started today when we were looking at it, we're like, Gale Force Esports, the consistency and the recent success, we want to see that 3-0 out from them. And like that last game, I still feel like that was kind of wishy-washy from them, I really want to see if in game number 3, if they do end up winning it, which I would love to see LFM, show that signs of life and be able to hold up. But if they do end up getting it, I want to see kind of dominance from them, get that revitalized, newer version of them and show that they have the dominance over what is the struggling team here of LFM. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it is going to be game number 3 and match point here between these two teams.